I'm Makini Smith. In 2009, while going through a divorce, I decided to jump straight into entrepreneurship. In 2012, I lost my sister and asked myself, what legacy do I want to leave behind? Since then, I've become a serial entrepreneur, helping other women publish their books, produce their podcasts, and reach their big goals to walk in their greatness. I realized the importance of sharing our stories of resilience and how it can be another's guide to walk in a manner worthy of their calling. We are blessed to be a blessing, so get ready to be blessed with an inspiring testimony. Hey, Legacy Leavers. Thank you for joining us on the Walk In My Stilettos podcast, the top 1.5% most popular show globally. And that's out of almost 3 million podcasts, where we share conversations with extraordinary women letting us step into their shoes. I help women own their voices to create impact, prosperity, and legacy. I get inspired when I see another woman succeeding, but I'm interested in her backstory and her mindset on how she got there. And since you're already here, you may as well subscribe. For those of you that are our regular listeners and our subscribed listeners, you would have noticed that I have taken a couple of weeks off of podcast episodes. And I've done so because I needed some time for self-care. Between moving, caring for a chronically ill child, book launch campaigns, and focusing on upcoming changes in the business, I needed to get clear on what I had the capacity for, what I wanted to change, and what was the best way for me to serve. During that time, I've been thinking very heavily on changing the name of the podcast and doing a rebrand for our 4-year anniversary coming up in October. Now, I have a name in mind. We've already had a couple of concepts for the rebrand, but I would love to hear your thoughts on this. So please head over to Instagram and you can send us a DM either on the A Walk In My Stilettos page at A Walk In My Stilettos or on my personal Instagram at The Real Makini Smith. So while I wait for your responses, I wanted to share some upcoming news. Book number 5 drops November 1st. That's November 1st, 2022. Renewing Your Mind, a guide to transforming your world from chaos to clarity. Visit renewingyourmindbook.com for more details, but you can also purchase the book on Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, Walmart, Kobo, iBooks, or any of your other favorite online bookstores. So I announced the upcoming book on my socials back in August, and as well as in the newsletter. And thanks to all of you that have pre-ordered, we've become best sellers. So who's we? So I partnered with another Procter & Gallagher coach, Susanna Mihailovich. She's one of Bob Proctor's top coaches, and she's out in Australia, and she and I have collaborated on a few things, including coaching, doing some workshops, and now our upcoming book, Renewing Your Mind, with the foreword written by Bob Proctor's son, Brian Proctor. So Renewing Your Mind presents transcripts from myself and Susanna. We're mindset coaches, Procter Gallagher consultants from our workshops. It's an essential resource for anyone who wants the combined wisdom and experience of 2 proteges of the legendary Bob Proctor. This book is your guide to transforming your world from chaos to clarity in 1 volume. Among many other invaluable lessons contained between the pages of this book, readers will learn how to honor the present moment, how to take care of your mind, body, and soul, how to attain massive goals using your imagination, how to break through their fears, how to change their paradigms that are controlling negative results, and much more. Susanna and I both aspire to show you how to think, feel, and act differently to produce a different result. We wrote this book in the height of the pandemic when everyone was trying to adjust to the new normals. We heard a common theme of anxiety and fear and overwhelm and all of these things that were keeping people from getting the results that they wanted in their lives. So we don't believe in toxic positivity, but we were able to not only help you to honor where you presently are in your journey, but on how to take steps towards your future so you can thrive. Yesterday is history. Tomorrow is a mystery. Today is a gift. That is why it is called the present. That's a quote from Alice Morse Earl. And I would love to ask you right now, what are you feeling today? How is your heart in this present moment? I want you to take a second to think about that. Sometimes we're too busy to even focus on the present moment because we're too concerned with the future, which is causing us anxiety, or we're too focused on the past, which is causing us depression. How are you feeling today? How is your heart? After you've checked in with your heart, I want you to look at your life. I want you to look at the results that you're getting in your life presently. Would you agree that there's a huge gap between what we know and what we actually do? There's a reason for this. It's our programming. From we were little kids, we've been programmed. We've been programmed to get the results that we are presently getting. So this is our paradigms. So a paradigm is a multitude of habits. A habit is an idea that's fixed in the person's subconscious mind that causes them to do something without any conscious thought. So a paradigm is what causes our habitual behavior. See, most people don't understand that it's your subconscious mind that controls a lot of what you do. In your conscious mind, that's the top half of your mind, the mind where, your five senses interact, what you see, hear, smell, touch, taste. That is your thinking mind. That is what you know. But your subconscious mind, which is the bottom half of your mind, that's your feeling mind. And what you feel controls what you do, regardless of if you know better, if you have listened to all the podcasts, attended all the seminars, read all the books. You may not be taking any action because of how you feel in your subconscious mind, in your programming. So what if you could take control of your life starting today? I'm here to tell you that you can. Not only do we provide a lot of the tools and systems and formulas within the book, Renewing Your Mind, but I'm going to share with you today 3 keys to getting what you want. Those 3 keys are your desire, your imagination, and your focus. So let's break these down. So desire. Most people are not going after what they want. Even some of the most serious goal seekers and goal setters, they're going after what they think they can get. That's a quote from my mentor, Bob Proctor. Think about that. Are you going after what you want, or are you going after what you think you can get? What do you truly desire? What would you love if there were no obstacles? What would you be doing if you had no self-limiting beliefs? If you weren't focused on what other people are going to think or say? If you weren't thinking about what your parents wanted you to do, or what your partner expects you to do, or what society says you should be doing? What would you love? What do you truly desire? I can tell you from experience how using desire transformed my life. I went from a soft-spoken, overly shy introvert. I was a single mother of 3. I was struggling with health challenges. I didn't have an audience. I didn't know what I was doing. And after going through the divorce, a friend asked me, "Who is Makini Smith?" And I shrugged my shoulders, and I was frustrated at the question. I was frustrated because I didn't have an answer. I didn't know who I was. I had spent my entire life doing what other people wanted me to do or what other people expected me to do. I was in a marriage for 8.5 years where I spent majority of that time doing for my husband and my children. I didn't know what I wanted. I didn't even know what I liked. I didn't even know what type of food I liked. Like, I was in a toxic relationship, but half the time I didn't even choose the clothes that I was wearing. And then shortly after, my sister passed away in 2012. And it was all of the messages, the calls from people that she had touched. People that wanted to share the difference that she made in their life. People that she had supported when their family and friends didn't. People that she regularly sent positive messages to. People that she would show up for. And I thought to myself, wow, what legacy do I want to leave behind? How do I want to be remembered? And that was when I made the commitment to myself, that not only was I going to discover who Makini was, but I had the desire to serve. I had the desire to make an impact. And today, 5-time author, certified mindset coach, doing all of the things, podcast host, you name it, making that impact, serving, because I had the desire. Now let's talk about imagination. Boredom is your imagination calling to you. That's a quote from Sherry Turkle. You know, as people, we think in pictures. You know, if I were to say car, you don't think of the letter C-A-R. You envision a car. Whether you're visualizing your own car, your dream car, there's a picture of a vehicle that comes up in your mind. If I say dog, if you're a dog owner, you may visualize your own dog. Or if I were to ask you to tell me what your home looks like, you would describe it to me so that I could visualize it, so that I would create a picture in my mind to go with the details that you are sharing with me. So let's imagine that. Let's imagine that you are living the life that you desire. Let's imagine what that feels like, what that looks like, what that smells like. How would that change your life? And as you fantasize, don't give any mental energy to how this goal is going to be accomplished. Don't concern yourself with where the money's going to come from, the time, or the assistance that may be required. Because attempting to think of how will either limit or destroy the fantasy. You know, we're conditioned to believe that fantasizing is for little children, but it's not. That's where our creativity is. That's where we create the life that we want for ourselves. So as you're imagining, I want you to ask yourself, am I able? Am I able to do what it is that I want to do in my life? Am I physically able? Am I mentally able? And if the answer is yes, then I want you to ask yourself, am I willing? Am I willing to do what it takes? And if the answer to both of those questions is yes, then that fantasy is no longer a fantasy. It's a theory. If you are committed to making your desires come true, you will do whatever it takes. If you're only interested, then you'll make all the excuses in the world why you can't do it. But once you've taken that fantasy and made it a theory, it's possible to make that reality. When I had the desire to make an impact and to serve, I had no idea how that was going to be possible. I was selling real estate at the time, full-time, as a single mom. And I was visualizing myself standing on stages. I was visualizing myself making the type of impact that the people that I looked up to online were making. The Lisa Nichols, the Bob Proctors. I was visualizing myself as a thought leader, working with other thought leaders, working with other experts in their field that are serving and making an impact. I visualized myself traveling the world. And back in 2013 is how I connected with Bob Proctor. That vision became a reality. For those of you that don't know, Bob Proctor was featured in the documentary The Secret. He was one of the thought leaders in that documentary. A documentary that a friend, the same friend who asked me who Makini is, made me watch when I was going through my divorce. And I've shared on previous episodes of the podcast how I connected with Bob Proctor. And I'll just give you the Coles Notes version, but a complete stranger had reached out to me on the internet. I was selling real estate, so my phone number was online. And he called to say that he followed me on Twitter and loved the positive quotes and energy that I was putting out there and had an opportunity for me to meet Bob Proctor in person. Now, I thought it was a scam, and I was in the middle of doing a real estate deal, so I said, buddy, send me an email. And when I was done putting together the deal and I opened my email, there was a picture of this man standing next to Bob Proctor with the conference room details for the meeting that would be happening in Richmond Hill, Toronto. Now, everything that could go wrong that day ended up going wrong. I had decided to attend, and as a single mom of 3, childcare canceled on me last minute. I was on my way there, I got lost. I ran out of gas. I was running late. You name it. It was like I was being challenged to see how bad I wanted it. If I was going to make the excuses or if I was committed. And I showed up and I got to the front door of the conference room and Bob Proctor was standing there greeting people as they came in. Now there was no more than 30 people in the room. Round tables, everyone was already in their conversations. And the extreme introvert in me looked around that room. Anxiety kicked in and said, I'm just going to go sit at this empty table over here. And I went and sat at that empty table. And an older woman came over and sat with me. And another young woman of color came and sat with me. And they started to conversate and ask me questions about my life and my story. And the older woman said, wow, your story is so inspiring. You should tell my husband. And I said, who is your husband? And she turned around and waved her hand and said, Bob, and called Bob Proctor over to our table. Now that was the beginning of my new beginning. That was the beginning of me renewing my mind. Not only that day was I connected to Bob Proctor and his wife Linda, who ended up writing the foreword for my first book, but staying connected with them and learning from them how to tap into my potential, how to get clear on the vision I have for my life, how to use my imagination and manifest what it is that I want, and to be able to focus on those things. Now, since then, I've become a 5-time author. I've spoken on stages all over the world. I've done book signings in South Africa. I've tutored and mentored women in Paris and Puerto Rico, you name it. So the reason that I share this story with you is that shy, introverted, quiet little girl who thought she didn't have a voice had a desire and used her imagination, fantasized, and turned that into a reality. So let's talk about focus. We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. That's a quote from Aristotle. So I want you to ask yourself, where are you investing your time? Who would you be if you weren't focusing on self-doubt, worry, fear, and all those other viruses? What are you investing your energy on? Because where energy goes, energy flows. So I want you to think about your desire. I want you to think about the vision that you have for your life. And we're going to take small steps towards that. You're going to break them down into the steps that are needed to get there. Any ideas, you're going to brainstorm things that you could possibly do without thinking about any obstacles or anything like that. We're going to think about what you could possibly do. And from that list, what can you delegate? Who can you hire? Who can you exchange services with? See, last year I read a book called Essentialism. And it's really about, once you've determined what your goal is, what your desires are, what your purpose is, only focusing on what's essential to that and eliminating everything else. So once you've had the opportunity to explore, you can then eliminate, cut out all the trivialities, and then execute, and that'll make it effortless. Most people are focusing on taking small steps in a million different directions. But if you were to focus and get really clear on all of your actions and not do anything that doesn't align with your goals, your visions, your dreams, your desires, then all of these small steps would lead you much closer to the goal. Now, I know that there will be obstacles and struggles and things that come along the way. Life happens. Throughout the pandemic, I've been able to write 2 books. Now, Renewing Your Mind, that is coming out, was written in a very short time. Not only were we transcribing our workshops, but it went to the editor, we made time to do the revisions, and had the book published. It didn't take us years. Sometimes people want to write a book and it takes them 10 years to put out one. It doesn't have to take you 10 years. You can do in 6 months or less what it takes other people 10 years to do when you focus. Regardless of the health issues, regardless of being a single parent, regardless of me being a full-time caregiver for a chronically ill child, I knew what my desires were. I used my imagination to say, what does that look like? What does that look like for me? And it may not have been done the traditional way, which some people may have gone, but I got it done. I was able to publish and now have a best-selling book in a very short period of time. And you can do the same. So those 3 keys to help you get what you want starting today is your desire, imagination, and focus. What is your desire? What do you truly desire? What are you yearning for? What is your heart burning to do or have or be? How are you using your imagination? Because good or bad, those pictures that we create in our head, we manifest in real life. So why not take control and visualize and imagine what you would love it to be, how you would love it to feel. And then get laser focused on that. Say no to what doesn't align with that. And whether it be a baby step a day, it's something towards that goal. I want to thank you for taking the time to join us. I truly, truly appreciate you. To all you legacy leavers out there. Until next time, subscribe on all platforms. Don't forget to rate the show and leave us a review on Apple Podcast. And I just want to thank each and every one of you that continues to listen each week, that help the show to rank globally in the top 1.5% of most popular podcasts. I would love if you would go over to renewingyourmindbook.com and you can check out all the bonuses that are available to you when you pre-order the Renewing Your Mind book. That includes samples of our previous books, that includes free access to webinars, and much, much more. And if you could think of one person that would receive value from today's show, please share it with them. We would love to also hear your aha moment. Feel free to screenshot this week's episode and tag us on Instagram with your aha moment. What did you learn? What resonated with you? You can tag myself personally at The Real Makini Smith, or you can tag at A Walk In My Stilettos, and continue to walk in greatness in your stilettos in a manner worthy of